Ashes of the End, Part 1. The world ended in fire and silence. When the bombs fell, they erased everything in an instant. Cities turned to shadows, people to dust. But the worst part wasn't the destruction. It was what came after. The sky was choked with black clouds, the air thick with the stench of burning flesh and rotting metal. Those who didn't die in the blasts weren't lucky. They were cursed. Radiation seeped into the soil, into the water, into the bones of the survivors. And then came the other things, the ones that shouldn't exist. Ben, Ashley, and Tim were among the few left breathing. They had found shelter in the ruins of an old convenience store, its windows shattered, shelves looted long ago. The wind outside howled like a starving animal, carrying whispers that didn't belong to the living. Ben ran a hand through his matted hair, his fingers trembling. "We can't stay here much longer. Supplies are running out." Ashley sat against the counter, her rifle clutched to her chest. Her once bright eyes were hollow now, dark with exhaustion. And go where? There's nothing left. Tim, Ben's best friend since childhood, stood by the broken doorway, peering into the fog-choked street. "Something's out there," he muttered. "I saw it last night, watching us." Ben's stomach twisted. They had all seen the things that moved in the dark, things with twisted limbs, eyes like burning embers, mouths that didn't just consume flesh but memories, identity, soul. He gripped the crowbar at his side. "Then we move at dawn. We head west, see if there's anything left of the old bunker." Ashley exhaled sharply. "And if there's not?" Ben didn't have an answer. The road was a graveyard of rusted cars and scattered bones. The sky above was an endless swirl of gray, the sun a ghostly blur behind the toxic clouds. Every step felt like an invitation for something to find them. Hours passed in silence, their boots crunching against brittle pavement. Then Tim froze. "Did you hear that?" Ashley raised her rifle, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Where?" Tim pointed to a collapsed building, its skeletal remains jutting out like broken ribs. The sound was faint, almost indistinguishable from the wind, a clicking like claws tapping against concrete. Ben's grip tightened on the crowbar. "Keep moving, don't look back." They walked faster, the sound growing fainter behind them, but the feeling of being watched never left. Night fell like a shroud. They found shelter in an abandoned gas station, the air inside thick with mold and decay. Ashley set up a small lantern, its dim light barely pushing back the shadows. Tim sat by the boarded-up window, his breath fogging against the broken glass. "I don't think we're alone." Ben glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Tim swallowed hard. "I saw something following us. It wasn't human, but it looked like one." Ashley's fingers tightened around her rifle. "Explain." Tim's voice was barely a whisper. "It had no face, just smooth, stretched skin where its eyes and mouth should be. But it knew we were here. It knew my name." A sharp knock echoed through the station. All three of them froze. Another knock, slow, deliberate. Then a voice, hollow and wrong. "Ben, let me in." Ben's blood turned to ice. It was his own voice. Ashley snapped off the lantern, plunging them into darkness. The only light came from the moon, filtering in through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. The knocking didn't stop. "Ben," the voice called again, rasping as if forcing the words out. "It's cold out here. Let me in." Ben backed away from the door. His breath came in sharp gasps. "That's not me." Tim gripped his knife, knuckles white. "No shit." Ashley crouched by the counter, rifle aimed at the door. "It knows your name. It knows your voice. We are not opening that door." The knocking stopped. Silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then the sound of something scraping against the walls. Slow, deliberate, circling the building. A breath of air whispered through the cracks in the window. And then a new voice joined in. Ashley's. "Please," it begged. "Let me in. I'm hurt." Ashley clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a gasp. Her own voice was outside, desperate and pleading. "Don't listen to it," she whispered. "Don't even look." Ben squeezed his eyes shut as the whispers grew. More voices joined in, a chorus of twisted, distorted mimicry. His mother, his father, people he hadn't seen since the world ended. Their voices calling, begging, screaming. Tim stood up suddenly, gripping his knife. "We can't stay here." Ben nodded. "We leave at first light." Ashley hesitated. "And if they don't let us?" The whispers turned to laughter. Morning was no salvation. The moment they stepped outside, the world felt wrong. The sky was darker, the air heavier, and the road ahead was no longer empty. Figures stood in the distance, dozens of them. silent, motionless, their faces smooth and blank, their heads slowly tilting as if listening. "We run," Ben whispered. Tim was already moving. They sprinted down the road, their breaths ragged, their muscles screaming. The figures did not chase them. Not at first. Then one of them twitched, a shuddering, unnatural movement. Then another, and another. Then they ran. Ben didn't dare look back. The sound of their footfalls behind him was enough. Heavy, inhumanly fast. Ashley fired a shot. The crack of the rifle split the air. A shriek followed, high and piercing. But it wasn't enough. Tim stumbled. Ben grabbed his arm, yanking him forward. "Keep moving." The bunker was close. They could see it now. An old government shelter, its metal door half buried in the dirt. Ben reached it first, wrenching the door open. "Inside now!" Tim and Ashley dove in after him. Ben slammed the door shut, twisting the rusted lock. The sound of fists, too many fists, slammed against the metal. And then, silence. Ben fell back, gasping, heart pounding. The bunker was dark, the air thick with dust, but they were safe. For now. Tim let out a shaky breath. "Tell me there's food in here." Ashley searched the room, finding old supply crates. "Enough for a while, but we have bigger problems." Ben turned to her. "What?" Ashley held up an old radio. Its screen cracked, but the speakers still emitting static. Then, through the static, a voice whispered, "You can't hide forever." And then, something scratched at the bunker walls, slow and deliberate. A low, guttural hiss echoed from the tunnel entrance. Then another. The air grew thick with the scent of decay. Tim's eyes darted toward the darkness. They're already inside. From the black, something moved. Long, spindly fingers curled around the edge of the tunnel door. Ben's grip on the crowbar tightened. "We fight." The bunker walls trembled as the things outside scraped and pounded, their unnatural movements filling the air with grotesque anticipation. But inside, something far worse was stirring. Tim's breath hitched as the elongated fingers curled around the tunnel door, their blackened, sinewy flesh gleaming in the dim emergency lights. The thing pulled itself into view, a twisted amalgamation of human and something else entirely. Its limbs were too long, its face stretched and eyeless, its mouth gaping, filled with writhing, eel-like tendrils. Ashley barely had time to lift her rifle before it lunged. The gunshot shattered the silence. The creature let out an ear-piercing shriek, stumbling back as a thick, tar-like substance oozed from its wound. But it didn't fall. It didn't even slow. "Run!" Ben shouted, grabbing Tim and shoving him down the narrow corridor. Ashley fired again, each shot pushing the thing back an inch, but it was relentless. They bolted through the rusted halls, the distant echoes of the pounding outside growing frantic, as if the other entities could smell the fresh chaos unfolding within. The bunker had once been a haven, but now it was a maze of death, the air stale with rot, the shadows moving with unseen threats. "Where the hell are we going?" Tim panted, gripping his knife with white-knuckled hands. "There's got to be an armory," Ben hissed. "Government bunkers always had weapons, supplies, something we can use." A guttural howl erupted behind them, the sound reverberating through the walls. Ashley turned just in time to see the faceless thing crawling unnaturally fast, its limbs contorting as it propelled itself forward. Another figure emerged from the darkness, and then another. They weren't alone. The trio barely made it around the next bend before Ashley spotted a rusted steel door, half ajar. "There!" Ben threw his shoulder against it, forcing it open. They tumbled inside, slamming it shut just as the creatures reached them. The door dented as they pounded against it, their shrieks muffled but still horrifyingly present. Tim staggered back, catching his breath. "Tell me we didn't just trap ourselves." Ben turned, his eyes scanning the dimly lit room. Racks of ancient, dust-covered weapons lined the walls, a few military-grade rifles still intact. Crates marked with biohazard symbols were stacked in the corner, alongside a row of gas masks and old ration kits. Ashley immediately grabbed a rifle, checking the magazine. "We're not dead yet." The pounding grew more frantic. The metal of the door began to buckle. Ben pried open a crate, his hands trembling as he pulled out an old grenade. "If we go down, we take them with us." Tim let out a nervous chuckle. "I'd prefer the not going down option." Ashley turned toward the far end of the room. "There's a ventilation shaft. It might be a way out." Ben hesitated, staring at the shaking door. Or it might lead to something worse. The metal groaned. A clawed hand punched through, fingers twitching. "We don't have a choice," Ashley snapped. They scrambled toward the vent, Ben boosting Tim up first. The pounding grew deafening. The door was giving way. Tim disappeared into the shaft. Ashley followed, her boots scraping against the metal as she pulled herself through. Ben was halfway inside when the door exploded open. The creatures swarmed in. Ashley screamed as she grabbed Ben's arm, yanking him with all her strength. A claw raked across his back, hot pain searing through him. He kicked, twisted, barely managing to pull himself through as the things reached for him, their distorted, voiceless screams filling the space. The trio crawled frantically through the vent, the sounds of their pursuers echoing behind them. The tunnel stretched endlessly, the air thick with dust and decay. Then, ahead, a faint glow. They pushed forward, lungs burning, until they reached the opening, a rusted grate leading to the surface. Tim kicked at it desperately. It stuck. Ben squeezed past him, bracing his legs against the tunnel walls. He gritted his teeth and heaved. With a shriek of tearing metal, the grate ripped free. They spilled out onto the surface, collapsing onto the cracked ground beneath the poison-stained sky. The bunker entrance loomed behind them, dark and gaping. For a moment, all was silent except for their ragged breathing. Then, from the darkness below, a voice. "Ben, let me in." Ben's blood ran cold. Ashley grabbed his arm, forcing him to move. "We have to go, now." They stumbled forward, the echoes of inhuman voices rising behind them. The world was still a graveyard, but something was different now. They weren't just running from the monsters anymore. The monsters were hunting them. I hope you liked this story. This was part 1 of The Ashes of the End. Comment if you all would like another part. And if you liked the story, don't forget to like and subscribe.